private sector, but to deliver public goods and services. You know, it doesn't have to be a lonely journey for the state, particularly where capacity is weak. And that's what I think social entrepreneurship really is about, is how do we harness the kind of skills we use to make lots of money, but to deliver public goods and services across the spectrum. Specifically in Africa, I mean, you know, the state in many countries is not sufficiently well resourced and structured to deliver what they're meant to deliver, which are the basic goods and public goods and services. And which is why Africa is one of the most vibrant arenas for social entrepreneurship, because the need is huge.
If you were to return here in front of me, 2 years from now, to have a conversation on your accomplishments.
My accomplishments?
Yes, sir. What would you be telling me you were pleased to have achieved?
We've gotten about between 10 and 20 million people onto the mobile platform, which we're developing, which is targeted specifically at school children to help them retain and develop their knowledge base. That for me, I don't want to sound too pompous, but that for me is my legacy endeavor right now. Mm-hmm. You know, I believe that the platform we've developed is largely what needs to be there. And if I've gotten 10 million people, or school kids around the world, on it, I'd be mildly pleased.
What keeps pushing you or driving you in this regard?
I'm alive, and I think as long as you're alive, you know, you have an obligation to extend yourself and to push yourself. You know, you got lots of time to rest and sleep when you're dead. You know, so if you're alive, you know, what else is there to do?
What have you learned, Kojo, within the lifespan of your career about yourself?
A couple of things, but two fundamentally almost contradictory but necessary things. One is that I have almost the limitless ability to achieve. But at the same time, I achieve more if I take more people with me.
I like that. When have you been most satisfied in your life?
Ooh, tell me, that's...
Watch it, Kojo. Children are watching this show.
You know, I mentor lots of kids in South Africa, young people in South Africa. And one of the most satisfying things to me is when a year, 2 years, 3 years later, one of my mentees comes to me and says, Kojo, how can I help you?
With such a demanding schedule, Kojo, how do you find time for leisure, and how do you find the balance?
You know, I'm lucky. There's I don't know, some clever Chinese guy said, find something you love and you'll never work another day. You know, I'm lucky because I really only have to do things that I want to do. And it so happens that that coincides with things which I find very useful. So I love what I do. You know, the mentoring of kids. This morning, for example, I was in New Jersey with Dr. Lynette France, one of the most amazing people, you know, you'll ever meet. And we were talking about her school and how we could cooperate. That might, you know, in some respects, that's work. But I love it. I don't feel any sense of stress by it. In fact, I get very stressed when I'm not doing something.
So what is your most memorable career experience?
Career or life?
Career.
There've been a couple of them. I mean, in terms of when I was, you know, pretending to be a high-flying investment banker, there's a particular transaction we did when we took over a listed company in Zimbabwe. It was the first time that it had ever been done, the largest listed company. And I felt, yep, done it, been there. But, you know, when I go to events at my daughter's school and say she's receives a prize or you know, she's playing on the piano or something, for me, that represents the fruit of my labors. So in terms of everything I do, you know, all the various things I do, for me, when those moments happen, I feel as if my work has been for a good cause.
So what has fatherhood taught you about you?
All my inadequacy. Oh, fatherhood. I mean, I could, you know, we could sit all night and talk about it, but I think it's also made me a lot more, hopefully, patient, and hopefully slightly more empathic, because and increasingly actually, as my daughter becomes this woman, gosh, scary. Um, I find I have to be less of a director and more of a kind of co-pilot
Mm.
of what she's
When
doing.
did you come to this realization, or
Oh,
how?
there's no magical moment. You just gradually realize that that there's someone creeping up next to you in the pilot seat.
When are you most happy?
In moments like these, Selwyn, where I can be interacting with people
Mm.
and both mixing hopefully thoughtfulness, but with honesty, and having meaningful discussions. I'm pretty boring. I'm not very good at light conversations. I've never learned the art. I like exploring ideas and trying to push myself and others around me.
What are you most thankful for?
I'm most thankful. Big question. There's so many things I'm thankful for.
Mm.
I'm most thankful for the opportunities that people have given me, and lots of people whom I didn't necessarily know well. So, for example, I mentioned Dr. France.
Mm-hmm.
She introduced me to her sister in the UK when I was going to study there. Didn't know her, and she took me. Auntie Yvonne took me into her home. She didn't have to do that. I was Joe So. And it's for those random acts of kindness which have helped to shape me. And there have been many of them. Selwyn, I like to tell people that I work hard. I've worked hard most of my life. I was lucky. I think my genetic inheritance was very good, but none of that is sufficient if you're not lucky and if people don't help you.
Hmm.
None of it.
What is the greatest misconception people have of you when they first meet you?
I don't know if it's a misconception. I think most people will find me, and I'm being slightly pleasant to myself, shall we say, a little bit, what we used to say in Guyana, full of yourself. Because
I'm only here to ask questions, Kojo.
Selwyn, I've become comfortable with the fact that I'm very sure of myself on most things.
Uh-huh.
And that I'm not very shy about projecting it.
Yes.
And I hope that I've grown older, I've become more sensitive to the need sometimes not to be, or to be sensitive to the fact that some people wouldn't necessarily embrace that approach, shall we say.
What are most people surprised to learn about you when they get to know you better?
Oh, I think that beneath the facade, it's a little crybaby. I cry easily. It's a fact.
When you look back on the long arc of your career, what would you say you got right and got wrong?
Sheldon, the biggest thing I like about myself is my ability to learn and my willingness to say I'm wrong and I change. I think it's something I've worked on and it's something I'm very proud of. I always say that I'm absolutely sure of myself until I change my mind.
Repeat that, Kojo. I love it.
I'm absolutely sure of myself until I change my mind.
If you could go back in time, what would you tell your 15-year-old self?
Be patient. Be patient.
Patience.
When you're 15, when you're that age, you think that, everything has to happen now. It can't wait because somewhere or the other, the opportunity will arise. But of course, when you get to 50, as I'm getting to, you realize that, damn.
What did Bob Marley mean to you?
Oh.
I know I shouldn't have asked that question.
Again, that's another thing. Bob Marley, for me, as an artist and as a... Listen, I grew up believing for most of my youth that Bob Marley was a bona fide prophet. We would hang around on the streets at Greenheart and Two Kite Street under the lampshade and debate for hours the meaning of Bob Marley songs. I'm proud to say I know the word of every Bob Marley song.
Every Bob Marley song.
Every Bob Marley song.
Gosh, Kojo, I'm not going to challenge you on that here tonight. What makes you laugh out loud?
This, but also being when my follies are pointed out. Yeah, it's that looking in the mirror
Right.
and realizing that for all the things you may have achieved, you're really just a fallible human being at the end of the day.
Let me go to the chat room. Tamu said, Auntie Vaughn, regardless of our position in life, we are still respectful.
Absolutely. You know, Auntie Vaughn, and I'm sure Tamu knows who Auntie Vaughn is. You know, one of the things I'm proud of too is as a result of my relationship with Auntie Vaughn in England, there's been a whole line of people, Lyndon Morrison, my own cousin, who have gone through her home, and there's a whole community of people as a result of that. Giant, absolute giant of a woman.
Kojo, my brother again, thank you.
Thank you.
So it was a long trip from South Africa. We've been planning this for some time.
We have, and thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome. I'm going to say this on, for all to hear. I'm scheduled to visit you.
Oh, Selwyn, I've given up on you people.
I'm coming. I'm saying it to all my listeners internationally. I'm coming. Thank you, brother.
Take care. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.